Does self-improvement ever stress you out? We're constantly told to improve and to maximize every moment, but this pursuit of perfection is a surefire way to feel worse about yourself, build up anxiety, and eventually burn out. But the thing is, if you're anything like me, you don't want to give up, you don't want to waste your life, you still want to be great and you want to do great things, but you can't work out this balance between improving yourself and living your life because you see them as separate things. So in this video, I want to show you why self-improvement isn't working for you, and then I'll give you a science-backed process in order to improve with ease. So let me show you exactly what you'll be able to do after you watch this video. So the reason why self-improvement feels like such a grind is because you're trying to maintain a baseline level of performance up here, but your true baseline is actually this dotted line down here. You can think about your baseline as if you stop putting in conscious effort, where would you fall to? Because this dotted line here represents what you find easy, comfortable, that requires no effort. You rarely dip below baseline unless something catastrophic happens like a death of a family member. But then your subconscious works to bring you back up to baseline quite quickly. So imagine instead of trying to maintain this level of performance by sheer brute force, what you did instead was that you rose your baseline to that level. So all these things that you do that feel quite effortful now become what you do by default. So you might be thinking, how do I raise my baseline? Well, it's all about identity. So you need to change the way that you see yourself. Now, the best way that I found to shift your identity and raise your baseline is to build a meaningful project that you want to build. And the reason why that works is because you'll naturally do what you have to do in order to cast enough votes to build the identity of someone who has a baseline at that level. So by the end of the video, you will be able to replicate this process for yourself. So to do this, we had to talk about 3 principles of self-improvement, and these are really, honestly, the main reasons why self-improvement feels like such a grind. And then once we understand what these principles are and how they work, we'll then talk about 4 steps to build a project that will help you improve with ease. All right, let's get into it. Okay, principle 1. Over the last few months, I've been really getting into golf, but I'm not too good. So naturally, I've been getting onto YouTube to research how to improve my swing, make better contact, and overall improve my game. And while watching one video in particular, I had this idea. This is exactly like self-improvement. So if you were to go onto YouTube and type how to improve my slice or how to fix my slice, you'll find countless videos showing you tips, drills, and techniques in order to fix that problem. So you'll watch 20 videos or so, go to the range the next day, try to recall it, and then shank the ball, get super frustrated, and kind of hate your life. And that's exactly the problem here. You're trying to think your way through a problem rather than feeling your way through it to understand it. I was watching this video here from Danny Maud, and he was making the case that you already know how to hit the ball well, but because you're so focused on trying to make good contact, you do these weird things in your swing and then you have to compensate for it, and that's what causes you to shank the ball or to hook it or slice it, whatever your pattern of behavior is. But if you stop trying to intentionally fix all these little things and instead focus on feeling what your club head is doing, feeling what a good swing feels like, feeling what good contact feels like, you'll be able to make good contact consistently on repeat. And whenever something felt a bit off, you would know exactly why and you'd be able to correct it in real time. And that's exactly why self-improvement doesn't work for a lot of people. You're constantly trying to fix the problems that you have. And then you overwhelm yourself with information, effort, and over-optimization. So it's no wonder why self-improvement for a lot of people ends up feeling stressful, and it lowers your self-esteem, it builds up anxiety and leads to burnout. But on the other side, once you understand how something works, you'll be able to change it naturally. And that's the first principle. Focus on understanding, not fixing. Okay, so now the question becomes, how can we turn consistent effort into effortless action? So let's say you wanted to go to the gym so you can get into better shape. And for the first month, you became really disciplined and really consistent. But soon your motivation begins to dip and then you stop showing up as much. What happened? And why do people like myself who go to the gym and never stop doing differently? There's a quote from the book Psycho Cybernetics which illustrates the point quite well. The most important psychological discovery of this century is the discovery of the self-image. All of your actions, feelings, behaviors, even your abilities are always consistent with this self-image. In short, you will act like the sort of person you conceive yourself to be. Not only this, but you literally cannot act otherwise, in spite of all your conscious effort or willpower. My self-image is the reason why I've been able to go to the gym consistently without my motivation ever really dipping. And it's because I see myself as a person who goes to the gym, lifts heavy weights, put them back down, and I see myself as a person who is naturally comfortable and confident in that environment. It's a place that I want to be, it's an activity I like doing, so there just isn't any friction there for me. And because I care about my performance in the gym, I also care about my nutrition and my recovery. So eating well, lifting weights, and going for walks is my baseline. It's what I find easy and comfortable. In fact, when I do go traveling and I'm not able to do these things as I normally would, I feel really uncomfortable because I'm operating at a level below my baseline and my subconscious wants to bring me back up to that baseline, but I can't. Now, on the flip side of this, self-image is the reason why I've never been able to make running into a consistent habit of mine, because I don't see myself as a runner, nor do I have any intention or desire to become a runner. But if I wanted to be a runner and I wanted to run consistently, then I'll need to incorporate running as a part of my self-image. Otherwise, I'm just relying on willpower for fragile consistency. So the question becomes, how do we incorporate something into our self-image? It honestly only comes down to two things. The first is feeling confident in your understanding of the system. And the second is having the evidence to know that you can and will do this well. So let's take the example of the golf swing. You become super familiar with what a good swing and good contact feels like, and you've done it consistently enough times to know that you can do it on command. So you feel really confident in your understanding of the system, and you have the evidence to prove that you can do it. A good indicator it has become incorporated into your self-image is when you can visualize yourself going through that process in visceral detail and actually believe it is real. Now, I can fantasize all day long about playing at the pro level, but that isn't real. That's a fantasy because I don't have the understanding of what my club head is doing. That understanding of the system is underdeveloped, and I also don't have the evidence that I can do it on command. But once you can do that for your own performance in the thing you want to get better at, you know your baseline has been raised. So just think about what we covered just now. Most self-improvement doesn't work for most people. And the reason why it doesn't work for most people is because they use self-improvement as a way to fix themselves instead of changing the way they see themselves. So a much better approach is to not actually try to improve yourself at all. Instead, you want to build a project that becomes the container for self-improvement. We talked about this heavily in last week's video, so if you haven't seen it, go watch it after you finish this one. But that leads us to the biggest reason why people don't build projects that change their self-image and raise their baseline. So psychologists think that 90% of all the decisions you make happen in the subconscious. Now, to illustrate the power of your subconscious mind, let me give you an example. So imagine you have two people walking towards a gate at an airport. You have person A and person B. Now, person A is on a travelator, traveling in the same direction as the destination at 4 times their walking pace. But then you have person B, who is on a treadmill going in the opposite direction of the destination at 4 times their walking pace. Person A is going to get to the destination with ease, but person B would struggle to get there at all if they didn't break into a sprint. That's the difference when your subconscious is moving in the same direction that you want to go. Okay, so then the question becomes, what determines what the subconscious wants? There's a quote from Psycho-Cybernetics which talks about this, and the author Maxwell Maltz calls it the creative mechanism. The creative mechanism within you is impersonal. It will work automatically and impersonally to achieve goals of success and happiness or unhappiness and failure, depending on the goals that you yourself set for it. Present it with success goals and it functions as a success mechanism. Present it with negative goals and it operates just as impersonally and just as faithfully as a failure mechanism. So these productivity gurus and mental health experts have legitimately lied to you. They say you need to set systems, not goals, but it's your goals that actually determines what your subconscious wants. Now, I'm not saying that the reason why you failed is because you didn't want the goal enough. That would be toxic of me, wouldn't it? But what I am saying is that it wasn't actually your goal to begin with. Because if it was your goal, then your subconscious would work towards that goal autonomously, right? You'll be on the travelator instead of the treadmill. See, most people think goals are statements of intention. That's completely wrong. What goals actually are biological mechanisms for your survival. See, the biggest mistake that most people make is that they set goals before they have done anything, but you don't actually know what your goals are yet. So instead, a much better way is to set the direction for your subconscious and then build a project in that direction. And during my time as an almighty sage, I have found 4 steps that you can execute to build this project. And these steps are inspired by Steven Kotler's research into the flow state. This may sound like semantics, but I think it's quite important to understand. I'm suggesting to not set a goal until you set your subconscious in a direction, but you still need a goal to have a starting point. What I found most useful is treating your life like an engineering project. You make a good assumption and then you begin your calculations. In self-improvement, this assumption is my subconscious wants what's best for me and will orientate itself in the direction of my goals. It's actually a very similar assumption to what Danny made in the golf example. He was making the assumption that your body just naturally knows how to hit that ball. This assumption prompts you to approach yourself with understanding rather than trying to fix something. So a prompt that I quite like that Jordan Peterson recommends is, what can I be doing better, that I should be doing better, that I would do better? Another prompt I quite like is, what does life want out of me? Instead of asking, what do I want out of life? You can ask these questions when you're out on a long walk or when you're journaling or when you're outside and you're just looking up at the clouds. Your brain is a problem-seeking machine. So if you give it space to work out what the problems are, whatever rises to the surface is the thing that you need to do. When I did this exercise for myself 8 years ago, the thing that rose to the surface was my body. I was deeply unhappy with the way I looked and I wasn't happy with the way that I felt. I wanted to be strong, have muscles, and get more attention from girls. And that's the way all meaningful projects start. They start as shallow pursuits. So don't feel bad about starting something superficial. If you need it, you have my permission. The next step after identifying a problem that you want to solve is to use curiosity to hunt for a project. So let's take the example of improving your body. It would be really easy to jump to the conclusion that you should go to the gym and work out because that's what everyone says. But that may not be the correct thing for you. Give it a try, but don't confine yourself to only that and give yourself permission to quit if you don't like it. But that doesn't mean you need to give up on your goal of improving your body either. Follow your curiosity because you might find that other approaches suit you better. For example, you might work out that group-based CrossFit is more your style. Or you might get into cycling or climbing or biking. Like there's so many different ways that you can exercise and improve your health, get into better shape. Now, if you say, Josh, I don't like any form of exercise, well, I would encourage you to use your curiosity to dig into that belief a little bit further, because you'll probably find that it isn't exercise itself, but rather the relationship you have with exercise and how you feel about yourself when you do exercise. We're not getting into healing your past traumas in this video, but hopefully you can see how curiosity can be used to find the project that you want to build. There's this idea that once you find your passion, everything will be easy, but that's a myth for a couple of reasons. You don't find your passion, you create it, and the things that you become passionate about are not the things that you find easy. The psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, he's the godfather of flow psychology, calls our passions autotelic activities. They are things that we like doing just because we like doing them. The activity is a reward, and the reward is the activity. Autotelic activities have some shared characteristics amongst each other. We generally dislike them at first because they're hard. We have to invest time and effort into the thing to get good enough to start being able to enjoy it. We then feel a sense of purpose and fulfillment when we do them, and then we feel the need to master the activity. At some point when sufficient amount of time and effort is invested into this activity, it turns from a curiosity into a passion. And then from there, you can turn it into a project that you care about more than anything else. The thing about this process is by the time you get to step 4, your goals become self-determined. You already know what you want to do. But for the sake of being complete, you need 2 different types of goals. You have big goals for direction and then small goals for clarity. So the big goal becomes the thing that you want as a result of the project you will build. And there are so many ways that you can go about this. For example, Matt D'Avella, the big YouTuber, he knew that he wanted to get stronger and to get into better shape. So rather than going around saying, I must get stronger, I must get stronger, I must get stronger, he decided to build a project where he would compete into a powerlifting competition. And as a result of the project, he got into the best shape of his life. An example of a project that I have at the moment is turning impactful ideas into a profitable business. And there are of course some big goals I want to achieve from this. But I only could build this project if I already knew that writing is a passion of mine. And then you have small goals, so the things that you do every single day to build the project that you want to build. For impactful ideas, I have goals for making content. These YouTube videos, the newsletter, short posts, research, and etc. The thing is, through this process, your entire reality changes. Your YouTube algorithm changes from brain rot Mr. Beast videos to whatever it is that you specifically want to build. You stop searching for things like how to get my shit together or how to unfuck my life. Instead, you start searching for the specific thing or the specific problem that you're having for the specific project you want to build. And then suddenly, without you even noticing, your self-image changes. Your subconscious begins to reorientate itself towards your big goals. As your small goals become habits, your baseline performance will rise. And we'll talk about how to do system design in a separate video. The real change that you see is when you look back, because a bad day today would start to look like a good day that you had 3 months ago. That's the real achievement here. And then balance is no longer a concern because you're doing what you want to do on your terms and your way. You and your subconscious want the same thing, so self-improvement and life collapse into one. So check out last week's video if you want to know how projects can turn into these containers for self-improvement. And if you like these ideas and you want them sent directly to you, go to my Substack, sign up there, and I'll send these letters out each week directly to your inbox. All right, thank you for being here, guys. I appreciate you, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.